Forward TV. The world is thinking.
Good evening and welcome to our Commonwealth Club Silicon Valley program brought to you from the Cubberley Theater in Palo Alto. My name is Colleen Wilcox, and it is my pleasure to introduce Christopher Hitchens, contributing editor and columnist for Vanity Fair magazine, media fellow at the Hoover Institute, and author of God is Not Great: How Religion Poisons Everything. As a foreign correspondent and travel writer, Christopher has written from more than 60 countries on all 5 continents. He began his journalistic career in 1973 as a magazine staff writer in London and immigrated to the United States in 1981. For 20 years, he wrote a bi-weekly column called the Minority Report for The Nation. And he also served as Washington editor and columnist for Harper's Magazine. Christopher continues to write regularly in publications like The Atlantic Monthly and Slate, and has authored several books, including Letters to a Young Contrarian and Why Orwell Matters. On his 58th birthday, Christopher became a U.S. citizen on the steps of the Jefferson Memorial, and some of his most memorable Vanity Fair columns include his year-long personal makeover and firsthand experience waterboarding. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Christopher Hitchens.
Thank you, Angel, for that suspiciously terse introduction, grudging introduction. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, for coming. I apologize for the spider bite that makes me limp in this cretinous way to the podium, but this is part of the price that one pays for the mid-peninsula idyll at this time of year. And I'm glad that the subject, of course, I'd like to think that it was the speaker, but I would also hope that it was the subject, had magnetized you here, unless it is that on such a beautiful evening, you don't really have anything. No, that can't possibly be. Even I, spider-bitten as I am not as lame as that. No, look, this is a grave moment, and it's a time to revisit a phrase that became a cliché a little while ago in the hands of our last president, the concept of the axis of evil, and my claim to expertise on this is simply that I am, as far as I know, the only writer to have sampled the different conditions of these 3 regimes, or samples of regime. The kind of government, as I'll start right out by phrasing it, considers the citizen essentially to be the property of the state. The danger that that sort of government poses not just to its own people or to its neighbors, but actually to the civilized world order. And the discrepant forms in which that takes, and in which one might have to think about it and possibly even think about confronting it. And we only have about an hour, I'm told, together, and you can count on me to do most of the talking, or at least that's what I aim to do, either Q&A or directly addressing you. But what I want to do is take no more than the first half, just to give you an idea of what these systems are like and why you should mind, and why you should take an interest. I suppose I'll start with Iraq, which was best described by, has best been captured by, under its old regime form, a brilliant author, an Iraqi English, half Iraqi, half English author called Kanan Makia, who had to write for a long time under a protective pseudonym of Samir al-Khalil, and wrote a tremendous book called The Republic of Fear, which is the best four-word description that one could have of the regime of Saddam Hussein. If you can get hold of it, and you can, if you go back to look at the program that Kanan Makia and Hodding Carter once did for public broadcasting, you can actually get to see one of the most chilling, annihilatingly chilling, actually, videos ever made in the 20th century. It shows the moment at which Saddam Hussein, the actual moment at which Saddam Hussein seized power in Iraq for himself. We don't have that moment in Germany. We don't have that moment in Russia. We don't know we know what happened after the Kirov assassination in Leningrad and the opportunity it gave to Stalin to seize supreme power. We know roughly what happened in the night of the long knives, when Adolf Hitler realized that he could massacre every rival of his, not just in German politics, but within his own party, which is always the crucial thing. But with Iraq, we do have the actual moment, and you see it. There's the Central Committee of the Ba'ath Party, perhaps 100 people, are sitting in a very formal array in a conference room. And Saddam Hussein is chairing them from a podium, smoking a large cigar. And suddenly, without warning to anyone, in is dragged between two guards and in chains a broken man, a man who is obviously physically and mentally been utterly destroyed. His personality has been evacuated. And prodded a bit, he stumbles through a confession that implicates himself and others in a plot to destroy the Iraqi Republic, to remove the regime of the Ba'ath Party, and to ruin the Iraqi revolution, the counter-revolution, in other words. He says the regime behind it is the Syrian regime. It could have been anybody. It could have been International Zionism. It could have been anything you like, but he actually implicates, in this case, the Syrian Ba'ath Party rivals. Having confessed for himself and having begged to be executed for his crimes, having been reduced to a state of complete abjection, the man then says, the following members of this Central Committee were with me in this plot, and he begins to read out their names. Slowly. And as this happens, you can see it, the guards move every time a name is mentioned, and they grab the member of the Central Committee and lead him out of the door. And after about a dozen of these, there's panic. Sheer animal panic starts to spread among those who haven't yet been named. And in the hope that they're not going to be, they start screaming and jumping up and saying, "Glory to Saddam Hussein, our leader, all praise to him, the sun, the moon, the stars of Iraq," praying that it won't be them who are called next. Nothing makes any difference. The harvest just goes on randomly. They're taken off the chessboard and taken out until half of them are gone, and the rest are just limp and done for and almost dying with relief that it wasn't them. It's the most extraordinary live show of a real, for keeps, political purge that you'll ever see. And then there's the second half, which has been seen by much fewer people and was not shown on PBS, where the surviving half are told to go out in the yard and are given guns and are told to shoot the convicted half. Now they're in the plot. Now they are cemented to the leadership. Now, Kanan Makia in his book